Talk about a couple other infielders. One's a new face, Starlin Castro. I guess he would platoon with Howie at second. He could play a little shortstop too. Start with him, and then I want to ask about Carter Kieboom as well. But start with Castro. How's he look so far, and what do you think they're expecting from him?
Yeah, Starlin's going to play second base almost exclusively. He'll play there a lot. One of Davey Martinez's biggest challenges will be how to get Howie on the field. He's going to, move him around first, second, and even some third base. Obviously, whenever they play in an American League Park, they can DH him. So Castro's interesting because second half of last year, he changed his swing and went into, I'm going to hit fly balls and see what happens. And that's all I'm thinking about. He did this on his own in Miami. Obviously, that team stinks, and you kind of have to self-motivate down there. And he did, and he had a huge second half. If everybody goes back and looks at his splits, you'll see his OPS, up near 900. So they think that's repeatable, and don't be surprised if you see him hit third in the lineup sometime. Maybe not consistently, but he could end up in that spot here and there. And as I said, he'll predominantly play second base. He came up as a shortstop. Miami forced him over to third base for 42 games last year. That was just out of desperation. He's not really in the mix for third base here, though.
Yeah. And speaking of third, Kieboom, I guess, would be I don't know if he's number one on the depth chart now, but I'm surprised that they're going to go with him. As of now, anything can happen. They can make a trade or whatever. But I thought they would bring in an established vet. But what do you think about Carter Kieboom?
Yeah, I mean, the whole vibe here is it's his job to lose. It's him and Jugal Cabrera over there predominantly. As I said, you'll see Kendrick over there on occasion just as a way to get him on the field. It's interesting because if you're the number one prospect in an organization, the way Carter Kieboom is, that has inherent pressure, right? And then if you come up and you have a flop in a small sample size, there's more inherent pressure. He has both of those things. And in this case, he's replacing an MVP finalist on the defending World Series champions. So there's a lot on his plate here. And I asked him yesterday, what do you do for fun? You're 22 years old. We're in West Palm Beach, either in the off season or now when you're out of here, what do you do for fun? And he said basically nothing because he's so worried about getting his job here and doing it right. He kind of sees this as a second chance and understands even top prospects don't get that many chances in the same organization. So you're trying to defend the World Series title, right? Like you're not bringing someone along just to bring them along. They need to be able to play. So the backup plan remains as Jugal Cabrera. They're going to work with Carter Kieboom to improve his defense at third base. And also mentally, they want, if something goes wrong at third base in the field, they want him to ditch that and leave that there if he's in the box the next inning and not kind of have a bad thing out here, feed into a bad thing in there, and kind of get caught in that cycle. And he was caught in that a little bit when he was up last year.
Doesn't he have another year of service, though, or something like if he stays a month or something that they can squeeze out of him, or no?
Yeah, I mean, that's a long discussion, but I don't really think it's part of the equation here because they need someone to play there. And if their top prospect can be a league average player there in his first full season, they'll be happy with that.
Talking to Todd Dybas, covers the Nationals for NBC Sports Washington. He's down at spring training. I heard Davey Martinez, the manager, talk about Victor Robles, and it seems like his ideal scenario would be Robles being the leadoff hitter to go into Eaton, Turner, Soto, and then the rest of the lineup. How likely do you think that is to happen?
I think we're going to see it. I don't think, we're going to see it in spring training. I don't think he'll end up doing that with regularity in the regular season. Robles' on-base percentage in the minors was pretty good. But last year, his on-base percentage was not, and his discipline at the plate was not. And it's a bit of an unfair comparison point, but essentially he swings at pitches outside of the strike zone 10% more often than Juan Soto. And we know how disciplined Soto is, and this is kind of an innate, extreme level thing for him. But they need Victor to calm down a bit and stop doing that and try to be in the zone more. The challenge there is if you're going to lead off with him and his on-base percentage is going to be so low, you're kind of rolling the dice with the potential versus the sample size that you have, right? Like, Robles should become a better offensive player, a more consistent offensive player as he gets older, like anybody. But I don't know if he's ready to hit leadoff for them at this point. I think they're going to be ending up with Trey Turner or Adam Eaton feeding into someone else, and then Juan Soto hitting cleanup. And a lot of mixing and matching throughout the season. If Howie Kendrick's playing, he could hit third. As I mentioned, Castro could hit third. Maybe somebody else is a better matchup that day, and he hits third. So we'll see. A lot of moving parts for Davey Martinez. That's going to be the most interesting thing for him this season.
Obviously, the strength of the pitching's the top three guys with Max and Corbin. But the bullpen, at least on paper, is much better than it was to start this spring training than it was last year, especially since they acquired Will Harris. And then Hudson, who they acquired last year at the break or at the deadline, starts the year. So you got Doolittle, Harris, Hudson, Rainey, Suero. I assume Strickland's still there. How much better is this bullpen on paper than it was going into last year, in your opinion? Well,
was there room to go in the other direction?
Yeah,
that's
true.
my first question about last year's bullpen. There was a time last year where I was walking down the hall with Davey Martinez after they lost again, and they had blown it late, and he said to me, I don't know what to do. And it was a game where he used 5 relievers, and all 5 gave him a run. So it didn't matter strategically when you're putting anyone in if none of them can get anybody out, right? It's just there's nothing a manager can do at that juncture. So in this case, to your point, Will Harris has been one of the most consistent relievers in Major League Baseball for like 5 years now. He does what he does. He does it very well. Similar, like when you think about Patrick Corbin going fastball, slider, and sometimes with a curveball. Like, everybody knows what Patrick Corbin is going to do, but it just plays at this level because he does it so well. This is the case for Will Harris in the bullpen. Sean Doolittle's load should be lightened a bit. Hudson, to me, I think he's primed for a bit of a step back. His numbers here last year were a bit of an outlier for his career, but they're going to be able to balance that out probably by lowering his usage, using Tanner Rainey, trying to get him a little more refined, his slider in particular. I mean, he's throwing 100 miles an hour and not even trying, right? It just comes out that way for him. Suero was used too much last year. They certainly want to use him less and have him not blow up as often. And Roenis Elias is someone they think can be effective for them too. Remember, he was the guy who came over from Seattle. And,
right. Got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt because he was told not to swing, and then he swung, and then he sprinted to first base. That won't be happening again. But what's been interesting with him on the mound, he's a left-hander who had reverse splits last year. Every time he throws a bullpen session down here, they have the bullpen coach, Henry Blanco, stands in the left-handed batter's box. So there's a left-handed batter in there every time that Elias is pitching. They want him to be better against lefties because right now Will Harris is their lefty specialist outside of Doolittle, who's obviously in the closer role. But Harris kills lefties despite being right-handed. They want another guy to be very effective against lefties so they can spread that around a little bit, and they hope that it's Elias.